Is this your wedding dress or the lining from a cheap curtain? 63,850 naira. Even my shop mannequin wears something more expensive than this.
Sade stood alone beneath the wedding arch. Her groom Alo's chair was empty. Niyi was already 47 minutes late. His phone was switched off, and whispers were spreading faster than fire. "He has run away," someone muttered. Kemi smiled. "Can you blame him? Which serious man wants to marry a woman dressed like unpaid labor?" Sadeo's fingers tightened around her bouquet. The lace on her sleeve had belonged to her late mother, but nobody in that room cared about its story. Then engines thundered outside. One black SUV entered the compound, then another, then 6 more. The laughter died. And when Niyi stepped out beside one of Nigeria Alio's most powerful billionaires, and the young woman Kemi believed was still inside a police cell, the phone slipped from Titi Alo's hand. Do not miss what happened next. Subscribe now, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from and your local time. But to understand why a billionaire Elo's convoy entered a modest wedding compound in Abebeokuta that Saturday afternoon, you must first understand the dress. Everybody mocked the woman who made it, and the lie that nearly destroyed 2 innocent lives before the first wedding prayer was spoken. 6 weeks earlier, on Monday, September 8, at exactly 6:43 in the evening, Sade Adebayo sat on the floor of her sewing room, with a calculator in one hand and a paper envelope in the other. 4 industrial machines stood against the wall. 2 were hers. 1 belonged to a cooperative. The last one had been bought on installment and still carried a strip of masking tape where she had written, "Do not forget payment." 76,000 left. Rain tapped the zinc awning outside. Kuto Market had begun to close, but the street still carried the restless sounds of Abeokuta. Buses coughing through traffic, traders calling the last prices of the day, motorcycle engines jumping awake, and a radio somewhere playing an old gospel song through a speaker that had seen better years. Niyi Koka sat opposite her on a low plastic chair. He had removed his shoes because the floor was crowded with folded fabric, cardboard patterns, measuring tapes and transparent bags of buttons. His white office shirt had become soft around the collar after a full day at EB Mobility Group, Alo's regional fleet center. A small grease mark remained on his left cuff. Sade tapped the calculator again. "The whole balance is 287,000, she said. "Food is 491,000 if we keep the guest list at 125. Photography is 160,000. Chairs, decoration and sound, 214,000. Niyi leaned forward. "And the emergency money? Untouched. How much?" 832,000. "Good." Sade looked at him over the calculator. "Good. You are not even shaking. I will shake when you tell me you have used it to hire 1 white horse and 6 men carrying trumpets." She laughed, despite herself. "Who told you I want a horse? The way people are doing wedding now, anything is possible. Somebody will borrow money, put flour on goat, call it luxury experience. God forbid." Exactly. He reached for the envelope, but Sade pulled it away. "That one is for the workers," she said. "What workers?" "The people serving food, cleaning the hall, arranging chairs. The decorator said she can pay them after the wedding if there is balance. I said no. They must be paid before they leave." Niyi Alo's face softened. "You have already calculated their wages? 27,500 for the serving team. 18,000 for the cleaners, 12,000 for the 2 men helping with chairs. Transport allowance included." He nodded slowly. That was one of the reasons he loved her. Sade noticed the people others treated like background furniture. At restaurants, she thanked the person who cleared the table. At workshops, she asked apprentices whether they had eaten. When somebody brought her a job, she wrote down the person Aloe's name, the agreed price, and the delivery date before touching the fabric. She was not perfect. Her patience could disappear when somebody wasted cloth. She hated lateness. She could carry an argument in her mind for 3 days, before finally bringing it out at midnight. But she did not build her dignity by stepping on another person Aloe's neck. Nii pointed towards a garment bag hanging behind her. "And your dress?" Sade followed his eyes. Inside the bag was the first full version of her wedding gown. It had no French label, no imported crystals, no dramatic train long enough to clean the entire aisle. The main fabric was ivory satin, bought from a Nigerian textile distributor at a discount because the roll had been discontinued. The lining came from unused stock left after a hotel uniform order. The buttons were covered by hand. The narrow lace on the sleeves had been removed, cleaned and reinforced from the wedding blouse her mother had worn 32 years before. Materials came to 63,850, Sade said. Nii whistled. "My wife is a dangerous accountant. Your wife is not yet your wife. In 40 days, she will be. Provided you come on time." He raised both hands. "I have heard you, Ma." Sade smiled, but only for a moment. "Our Auntie Kemi said people will laugh." Nii Aloe's hands dropped. Kemi Johnson was Sade Aloe's mother, Aloe's cousin. In family photographs, she always stood in front, chin lifted, handbag visible. Her bridal company, Maison Kemi, had 2 showrooms, a popular social media page, and a reputation for luxury. Brides came from Ibadan, Lagos, and sometimes Abuja to rent heavily beaded gowns under chandeliers while attendants served fruit juice in tall glasses. Kemi had offered Sade one of those gowns, not for free. The normal rental price was 3,850,000. Kemi called it a family discount when she reduced it to 1,900,000, provided Sade signed an image rights agreement, tagged Maison Kemi in all wedding content, allowed TT to supervise the styling, and told the public that Kemi had rescued her from a fashion disaster. Sade had read the agreement twice. The company could use her pictures forever. It could edit them. It could attach promotional statements to her face. It could use the wedding story in adverts without paying her. And if the gown was stained, damaged, or returned late, Sade would owe the full retail value plus a 30% penalty. She had pushed the paper back. "No, Ma." Kemi had stared as if a housegirl had refused to carry her bag. Now, inside the small sewing room, Nii rubbed his jaw. "Let them laugh. It is easy to say. I am not saying it because I don't understand. I am saying it because the alternative is madness. We borrow nearly 2 million to wear somebody Aloe's dress for 7 hours, then start marriage by hiding from debt collectors. For what? For pictures. Pictures cannot pay rent." Sade looked at the envelope again. Nii continued, quieter now. "Our wedding is one day. Our marriage is every day after that. I would rather enter marriage with emergency money than enter with reported stones on your chest and fear in my stomach." The rain became heavier. Water ran from the awning in silver ropes. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Sade reached behind her and unzipped the garment bag. The dress slid into view. Nii stood. He had seen the sketches. He had seen pieces of fabric, but he had never seen the whole thing together. The bodice was clean and fitted, with a modest square neckline. Soft pleats moved from the waist into a full but controlled skirt. The sleeves ended just below the elbow, where the old lace rested like a quiet memory, rather than a decoration demanding applause. He touched nothing. He simply looked. "Well?" Sade asked. Nii swallowed. "Your mother would have cried." Sade Aloe's mouth tightened. "That is not an answer. It is my answer." She looked away. before the tears could gather properly. Her mother had died 4 years earlier, after a short illness. What remained of her was scattered through ordinary things. The smell of starch, a steel thimble, the habit of folding thread ends into small paper, and a notebook filled with measurements written in blue ink. Nee stepped beside Sade, leaving enough space not to crowd her. "You made this," he said, "with your own hands. You kept part of your mother inside it. You paid for it without begging anybody. Anybody who calls it cheap is only telling us the price of their own thinking." Sade breathed out. Shortly before 8:00 p.m., they sealed the budget in a brown folder. On the front, Sade wrote "Wedding no debt" in black marker. That decision should have been the end of the matter. It was only the beginning. 3 days later, Kemi entered Sade Adebayo's workshop without knocking. She came at 11:17 in the morning, wearing cream trousers, a silk blouse and dark glasses, even though the sky was cloudy. Titi followed behind her, filming a short lifestyle clip and complaining about the heat. Bisi, Sade Adebayo's 23-year-old apprentice, was pressing a bridesmaid's sleeve near the window. Kemi stopped in the center of the room. "Oh, this place is still like this?" she asked. Sade rose from her cutting table. "Good morning, Ma." Kemi looked around at the 4 machines, shelves of folded fabric, and the kettle near the back wall. "Good morning. But honestly, Sade, you are too comfortable with smallness. See how everywhere is squeezed. Brides are supposed to enter a place and feel special, not feel they have come to repair school uniform." Bisi lowered her eyes. Titi turned her camera towards a rack of unfinished dresses. "Mummy, this light is terrible." "Don't a lot film here," Sade said. Titi frowned. "Why?" "Because these are clients. Low clothes. They did not consent for ordinary cloth. For their clothes and their measurements. Yes." Titi rolled her eyes but lowered the phone. Kemi placed a glossy brochure on the cutting table. The cover showed a model in a crystal-covered gown, with a train spread across marble stairs. "I have changed my mind," Kemi said. "I will give you the dress for free." Sade did not touch the brochure. "What is the condition?" Kemi Adebayo's smile thinned. "Why do poor people always assume help has condition?" "Because your first offer had 11 pages of conditions." Bisi coughed to hide a laugh. Kemi Adebayo's head turned sharply. "Is something funny?" "No." "Ma, then press that sleeve. That is what your hand is useful for." Sade Adebayo's face changed. "Auntie Kemi." "What? Do not speak to her like that in my workshop." The room went still. Kemi removed her glasses. "Your workshop?" "Yes, Ma. 4 machines and 1 noisy fan have made you proud?" "No. Paying my rent and paying the people who work with me has made me responsible." Titi slowly lifted the phone again. Sensing drama, Sade pointed at it. "Put it down." Titi did. Kemi pulled a second document from her handbag. "Maison Kemi has applied for the IBE Vocational Trust Expansion Grant. I heard you also submitted something." Sade Adebayo's stomach tightened. The Second Stitch initiative had been her idea for almost 2 years. She wanted to train adult women in practical sewing, costing, contract literacy, record keeping, and basic intellectual property protection. Too many apprentices spent years carrying bags, sweeping floors, and sewing free garments without ever learning how to price a dress or protect a sketch. Too many left training with speed in their fingers, but no business knowledge in their heads. Her proposal requested equipment support, stipends and classroom rental for 37 participants over 12 months. "Yes," Sade said. "I submitted." Kemi laughed once. "With this place. The program will not run only here. And you think a Billionaire Aloes Foundation will put money inside your hand?" "It is not going inside my hand. It is a monitored grant. You are correcting me. I am explaining the proposal." Kemi walked towards the wedding dress hanging at the back. Sade moved between them. You see, this is the problem, Kemi said. You have talent. Small, but no packaging, no presence, no understanding of class. Even your own wedding, you want to appear like somebody Alo's exhausted assistant. How will a serious foundation trust you? By reading my plan and checking my records. Records? Kemi looked at BC. How much are you paying this one? BC froze. Sade answered. That is private. Kemi turned back. I trained you. Have you forgotten? You gave me work. I gave you opportunity. You gave me 12-hour days and told clients the designs were yours. The words came out before Sade could soften them. Titi Alo's eyes widened. Kemi Alo's face went quiet. Not calm, quiet. She stepped closer until only the cutting table separated them. Be careful, she said. A person can climb one step and start thinking she is standing on a mountain. Sade held her gaze. I am not fighting you, Ma. No. You are competing with me. I am applying for a training grant. You are entering a space you do not understand. I understand sewing. Kemi smiled again. It was a colder smile now. Susieing is not enough. She picked up her brochure and folded the second document into her handbag. At the door, she looked back at BC. And you. If you want to learn real fashion, stop wasting your youth in a room that smells of hot iron and managing. BC Alo's jaw tightened. Sade said, Goodbye, Auntie. Kemi walked out. Titi followed, but not before looking at the workshop, as though she had already decided how it would appear in a humiliating video. For several seconds, only the pressing iron hissed. Then BC said, Ma, I am sorry. For what? She came because of me. Sade turned. What do you mean? BC placed the iron upright. Her hands were shaking. I worked at Maison Kemi before I came here. Sade knew that much, but BC rarely discussed it. For 11 months, BC continued. They called us trainees. There were 6 of us. We were sewing customer dresses, but the agreement said we were only observing. Sometimes they paid transport. Sometimes nothing. When I asked about wages, their manager said exposure was our salary. Sade sat down slowly. BC swallowed. I copied some of the work records before I left. Job cards, payment notes, pictures of designs. I gave them to a labor lawyer 2 weeks ago. Which lawyer? Ronka Balagun. Sade had heard the name. Ronka represented small workers and artisans in wage disputes. She was known for asking for documents before asking for sympathy. Does Kemi know? Sade asked. I don't know. But yesterday her manager called me. He said I should come and collect my final allowance. I refused. How much do they owe you? BC gave a tired laugh. If we count the months and the clothes I worked on, more than 800,000. But I don't even think I will see it. You may. People like us don't win against people like that. Sade Alo's voice became firm. Do not say people like us as if we are a different species. BC looked down. Listen to me, Sade said. Money can make a fight unequal. It cannot make a lie true. Keep every message they send. Do not meet anybody alone. And tell Ronke everything. BC nodded. Sade looked towards the door through which Kemi had left. The morning light had shifted, laying a sharp line across the floor. For the first time, she understood that the insults about her wedding dress were not merely insults. Kemi was afraid, and frightened pride could be more dangerous than open anger. The weeks that followed moved quickly. Sade finished bridesmaid dresses, corrected a client's badly taken measurement, attended 2 premarital counseling sessions with Niyi, and revised the second stitch budget until every figure had evidence behind it. She attached quotations for 7 machines, rent for a classroom, electricity, training materials, safety equipment, and monthly stipends. She added a complaints procedure and a clause stating that every trainee retained authorship over original designs created independently. At 2:36 p.m. On September 19, an email arrived from EB Vocational Trust. Her application had passed the first review. The trust requested a compliance visit and proof of payment records for her current apprentices. Sade read the email 3 times before calling Ni Yi. He answered over the sound of heavy vehicles. "Hope no problem?" he asked. "I passed first review." There was silence. Then he shouted so loudly that somebody near him laughed. "My wife! Not yet! My almost wife! Ni, behave. You are at work. Let them hear." "Madam, second stitch has entered second round." Sade laughed. "They are coming for compliance." "Good. Your books are cleaner than my mother's white church cloth." "Do not exaggerate. I have seen your receipts arranged by date. It is frightening." She leaned against the table, smiling. Then Niece Alo's tone changed. "Did you tell Kemi?" "No, Don Alo. I was not planning to." "Good." There was something in his voice. "What happened?" Sade asked. "Nothing concerning the wedding." "Nii," he sighed. "A supplier linked to one of the grant applicants also supplies uniforms to our transport division. Compliance flagged inconsistent invoices. I don't know whether it concerns Maison Kemi. I have no access to the grant review itself. Are you involved?" "No, and I will not be." "Conflict of interest. Good. Yes? Whatever happens, do not let anybody say you got favor because I work here." She straightened. "They can say what they like. My documents will answer. That is why I love you." The call ended. Neither of them knew that, at almost the same time, Kemi was sitting in the back office of Maison Kemi, staring at an email of her own. Her application had not advanced. The trust had requested clarification on trainee contracts, wage records, design ownership, and supply invoices. Until those questions were answered, the application would remain suspended. Titi stood beside her mother, Alo's desk, scrolling through comments on a fashion post. "Mummy, why are you squeezing your face?" Kemi turned the laptop towards her. Titi read the message. "Maybe it is normal." "It is not normal. Can Alot the accountant answer them?" "The accountant can answer numbers. He cannot answer nonsense from former girls who are calling themselves workers." Titi looked up. "BC?" Kemi Alo's eyes hardened. "And Sade?" she said. "What did Sade do?" "She gave that girl confidence." Titi leaned against the desk. "So what do you want to do?" Kemi closed the laptop carefully. "I want everybody to remember their level." On September 27th, 3 weeks before the wedding, Kemi made her first public move. Titi uploaded a video titled "Cheap Weddings" that look expensive gand when they fail. She never mentioned Sade Alo's name. She did not need to. In the video, she laughed about women who used leftover satin, recycled lace, and sentimental stories to cover lack of money. She said, "A bride who could not afford a proper dress should reduce her guest list or postpone the wedding rather than embarrass her husband." The video received thousands of views. Family members forwarded it into the wedding WhatsApp group with laughing emojis and comments, pretending not to know who it described. Sade watched only the first 50 seconds, then she closed it. BC stood nearby, angry enough to cry. "Ma, answer her. With what?" "Show the dress. Explain the lace. Tell people you can afford another one." Sade shook her head. "I will not put my mother Elle's memory on trial for strangers. But they are insulting you. They have decided price is evidence. Any explanation I give will become more content." BC folded her arms. "So they should just win?" "No. What will you do? Finish the dress." That answer frustrated BC, but Sade meant it. She adjusted the waist by 4 millimeters. She reinforced the sleeve seams. She hand-covered 23 buttons and rejected 2 because the fabric grain sat wrongly. She steamed the skirt twice and stored it in an acid-free garment bag borrowed from a photographer. Each stitch became a refusal. On October 3, Ronk Balagan came to the workshop. She was 41, direct, neatly dressed, and uninterested in dramatic stories without evidence. She carried a black file case and a bottle of water. After greeting Sade, she asked Bissy to repeat her employment history from the beginning. What date did you start? June 6 last year. What did you sign? A training form. Did it state hours? No payment? It said support may be provided at management allo's discretion. What work did you do? Cutting, beading, fitting corrections, hand finishing. For customer orders? Yes. Did clients pay Maison Chemie for those orders? Yes. Did you create any designs? 3. One became part of a bridal collection. Proof? Bissy opened a folder. She had saved photographs of dated sketches, messages from the production manager, and one voice note in which Titi asked her to remove her initials from a design board before filming. Ronke listened without expression. When the recording ended, she said, "Good." Bissy blinked. "Good. Good that you kept it. Not good that it happened." Sade poured water into 3 cups. Ronke turned to her. "Did you work there too? For 4 years. Employment contract? First year, none. Later, basic contract. Design credit." Sade gave a small laugh. There was no such thing. "Do you have original sketches? Some. Messages? Some. Payment records? Most." Ronke closed the file. "Bring everything." Sade hesitated. "I am getting married in 15 days. The law will still exist after your wedding. I know. I just don't want trouble to swallow the day." Ronke Alo's voice softened slightly. "Trouble does not disappear because you refuse to name it. But we can control timing. I am not filing anything publicly before your wedding unless there is an emergency." Bissy looked at her. "And if they come after me, then we document it." The word sounded almost too simple. Document, not scream, not beg, not trust memory, not hope the powerful person became merciful. Document. Ronke spent 2 hours explaining what evidence mattered: original files, metadata, bank transfers, job cards, WhatsApp exports, dates, witnesses, and contracts. She told BC not to surrender her phone to any former employer. She told Sade to back up her sketches in 2 places. She warned both women that public accusation without legal review could damage their case. "Social media likes noise," she said. "Law likes sequence." That sentence stayed with Sade. The next morning, Sade copied every relevant file onto an external drive and a secure online folder. Among them were 3 sketches she had made while working at Maison Chemie. Each one carried a date, fabric note, and measurement reference. Later, the company had released similar gowns under names that erased her contribution. She did not yet know those drawings would become weapons of truth inside her wedding hall. By wedding week, tension had settled over the family like harmattan dust. Kemi complained about the hall. Titi mocked the invitation design. 2 aunties withdrew their promised cooking support after Kemi suggested Sade had been disrespectful. A cousin asked whether the Groom family was contributing anything serious. Another asked why Nii still drove an old Corolla when he worked for a wealthy company. Sade answered fewer questions each day. Nii remained steady, but work had become intense. An internal audit was reviewing maintenance records after he had reported suspicious brake inspections across 19 trucks. The issue had begun months earlier when he noticed identical handwriting on certificates supposedly signed by different technicians. He had compared mileage logs, repair dates, and parts orders. The pattern did not make sense. A contractor offered him $28,750,000 to withdraw his report. Nii recorded the conversation, informed compliance, and refused the money. The investigation later found that several trucks had been certified safe without proper brake replacement. None had yet caused a major crash, but the risk was real. The company removed the vehicles from service and began disciplinary proceedings. Yusuf eBay, the 62-year-old chairman of eBay Mobility Group, learned Nialo's name during that investigation. He did not promote him overnight. He did not hand him a check. He asked to see the report. The report was 43 pages, long, dry, specific, and difficult to ignore. Yusuf called Niyi into a meeting on October 9th. "You knew reporting this could cost you your job?" Yusuf asked. "Yes, sir." "And you still reported?" "Yes, sir." "Why?" Niyi looked at the photographs of brake assemblies on the screen. "Because the person who enters a bus or drives beside a truck on the road cannot inspect our maintenance file. They trust us without knowing us. If we use that ignorance to save money, we are stealing safety from them." Yusuf studied him for several seconds. "Are you always this serious?" "No, sir. My fiancée says I make bad jokes." Yusuf almost smiled. "When is the wedding?" "October 18. In Abeokuta?" "Yes, sir. Send the details to my office." Niyi blinked. "Sir?" "I said send the details. I have a foundation inspection in Ogun State that morning. If timing permits, I may attend." Niyi did not tell Sade. He was not certain Yusuf would come, and he did not want the possibility of a billionaire guest to become another object of family madness. He also knew Sade would hate the idea of people changing their behavior because a powerful man might be present. So, he kept quiet. That decision would later save the wedding from becoming a performance before it began. It would also create one painful hour when Sade believed she had been abandoned. On Friday, October 17, the day before the wedding, the workshop closed at 4 p.m. Sade paid everyone early. BC remained behind to help pack emergency sewing supplies: needles, thread, safety pins, stain remover, chalk, small scissors, and a hand steamer. At 5:12 p.m., Busy Alo's phone rang. She looked at the screen and rejected the call. "Maison Kemi?" Sade asked. Busy nodded. "Block the number. They keep using different numbers. Send it to Ronkig." Busy did at 6:05 p.m. A motorcycle stopped outside. An envelope was pushed under the door. Inside was a photocopy of a warehouse sheet bearing Busy Alo's name and a message written in blue ink. "Return what you took before tomorrow morning." Sade read it twice. "What did you take?" she asked. "Nothing." "Think well." "Ma, I swear, nothing." "What are they claiming?" "I don't know." Sade photographed the envelope, the paper, and the message. She placed everything in a transparent bag without touching the writing again. "Call Ronke." Ronke answered on the third ring. After hearing the details, she said, "Do not go anywhere tonight. Keep the door locked. Tomorrow, move together." "My wedding is tomorrow," Sade said. "I know." "Can they do something?" "They can make a complaint. A complaint is not proof, but do not underestimate desperate people." Sade looked at Busy, whose face had lost color. "What if police come?" "Call me immediately. Do not argue. Do not sign anything you do not understand." The line ended. Sade locked the workshop, took Busy home in a taxi, and watched her enter the compound before leaving. At 11:48 that night, while Sade lay awake beside the packed wedding dress, Kemi sat in the back office of Maison Kemi with Titi and an unnamed production manager. On the desk lay a printed stock sheet for a French lace roll valued at 1,740,000. The lace had never arrived. The order had been cancelled 3 months earlier after the supplier changed terms, but the stock code still existed in the system, and an old photograph showed BC near the storage room on a different day. Kemi tapped the paper. "Nah, tomorrow morning you will submit the complaint." Titi shifted in her chair. "Mummy, this is becoming too much." Kemi looked at her. "Too much? What if they check?" "They will check after the wedding. By then, the girl would have spent the day inside station. Sade's program will look connected to theft, and the foundation will pause everything. But the lace did not come. The invoice exists. That is not the same thing, Kemi Alo's voice dropped. You enjoy the house, the driver, the trips, the brand partnerships. Where do you think all of it comes from? Prayer. Titi looked away. Kemi pushed the stock sheet forward. People respect confidence. Nobody investigates a person who speaks first. That was the lie Kemi believed. She had built her life around it. By 7:20 the next morning, Abeokutas was already awake. Sade Alo's wedding day began with steam, perfume, pins, and too many voices inside one room. The makeup artist complained about electricity. An auntie searched for missing Gilo. Somebody brought the wrong shade of nail polish. Rain threatened but did not fall. Sade sat before a mirror, while Bisi adjusted the back of the dress. For one quiet moment, the room emptied. Bisi touched the lace on the sleeve. Your mother Alo's own? Yes. It is beautiful. Sade looked at her reflection. Not expensive? Bisi smiled. Beautiful. At 8:14 a.m., 3 police officers arrived at the workshop. They did not find Bisi there because she was with Sade at the family house. They called her number and instructed her to report regarding a theft complaint. Ronk advised that she should not ignore an official invitation. She agreed to meet them at the station and told Sade not to come. I will go with you, Sade said. No, Ma. This is because of my family. This is your wedding day. Bisi, you taught me not to behave as if my life is smaller because I am an apprentice. Bisi Alo's voice trembled, but she continued. Then do not make your wedding smaller because of me. Ronke is coming. I will be fine. Niyi arrived at the family house at 8:41 to deliver documents for the officiant and learned what had happened. He was already dressed in trousers and a white undershirt, his suit hanging in the back of the car. Which station? He asked. Bisi told him. I am coming. Sade grabbed his wrist. The ceremony is at 11. I know. Let Ronke handle it. She may need transport. She may need documents from the workshop. I will go understand the situation and return. Niyi. He held her shoulders. I will come back. What time? Before 10:30. You promise? I promise. Sade searched his face. Call me, I will. He kissed her forehead carefully so he would not disturb the makeup, collected Bisi, and drove away. At 9:07, Kemi entered the family compound in a wine-colored lace outfit, already dressed for the wedding. Titi followed with 2 phones, a portable light, and enough confidence to cover the entire street. Where is the bride? Kemi asked. In the room, someone said. And her dress? Nobody answered quickly enough. Kemi smiled. The day had started exactly as she wanted, at 9:32 a.m. Kemi found the garment bag hanging behind the bedroom door. She unzipped it without asking. The sound was small, only the quick teeth of a zipper separating. But Sade heard it from the dressing chair and turned. Auntie, please leave it. Kemi pulled the dress partly out. Her eyes moved over the plain satin, the controlled pleats, the hand-covered buttons, and the narrow lace at the sleeves. She did not see construction. She saw an opportunity. This is what you are wearing. Yes, to your own wedding. Yes. Kemi lifted one sleeve as if examining a rag brought by a cleaner. Where is the rest of it? There is no rest. No be small poverty, Kemi said. You have turned suffering into a design concept. 2 women in the room became busy with things that did not require attention. One rearranged hairpins. Another opened and closed a makeup pouch. Nobody challenged Kemi. Sade stood. Please zip the bag. My sister, I am trying to save you. Look at this thing. The neckline has no beadwork. The skirt is not full enough. Even the lace is old. It belonged to my mother. Kemi paused only long enough to understand where the pain was. Then she pressed it. Your mother wore it because that was what she could afford in her time. Must you carry old limitation into your own marriage? Sade Adebayo's hands curled at her sides. The room held its breath. Titi lifted her phone. Sade looked directly into the camera. Put it down. Mummy is only helping. She is not. Kemi released the sleeve, you see? Pride. Ordinary tailor with pride taller than Olumo Rock, I said. I do not want your dress, and I said you will disgrace this family. My wedding is not an advert for your shop. No. It is worse. It is a public announcement that you have no standard. Sad crossed the room, zipped the bag and placed herself between it and Kemi. Leave my dress alone. Kemi stared at her for a long moment. Then she smiled towards the other women. Fine. When people laugh, do not say, I did not warn you. She walked out with Titi behind her. The door closed. One of the women whispered, Sade, maybe you should just manage and wear her own, at least for peace. Sade looked at the door. Peace with who? She asked. Auntie Kemi or myself? Nobody answered. At 9:46, Niyi called. His voice came through broken traffic noise. We are at the station. Ronke is here. What are they saying? They are alleging theft of imported lace. Sadie sat down slowly. What lace? One roll. They say it entered their store at 8:14 this morning, and Bissy signed possible. She was here at 8:14. I know, we are showing them. Then come back. There is a stock sheet with her name. Ford. Most likely, yes. But the officer has to record statements. It is almost 10. I know. You promised 10:30. I am trying. Sade closed her eyes. Do not say trying. Tell me when you are leaving. There was a pause. I cannot tell you yet. Her chest tightened. Sade, listen to me. BC is not under arrest at this moment, but they are threatening to hold her pending investigation. The complaint says she may have access to company records and could destroy evidence. She has not worked there for months. Ronk is arguing that. Then what are you doing? Getting the workshop attendance record and the original delivery message. The envelope from yesterday may help show intimidation. Sade looked at the clock. Come back, she said. Please. The word cost her something. He heard it. I will, he said. I am not leaving you. The call ended before either of them could say more. At the station, Bissy sat on a wooden bench beneath a wall fan that turned without moving much air. A printed notice warned visitors not to offer money to officers. Another notice, partly peeled away, listed citizens' allo rights during questioning. Ronke stood at a desk, reading the complaint line by line. This stock entry says 8:14, she said. The officer nodded. That is what the complainant submitted. And the alleged item was worth 1,740,000 naira? Yes. Where is the purchase invoice? Attached. Delivery note? Attached. Gate record? The officer turned one page. Not attached. CCTV of the delivery. Not attached. Statement from the person who physically received the item. It is stated that she received it. Ronke tapped BC Allo's alleged signature. My client was in another part of town at that time. We have photographs, call records, and several witnesses. The officer leaned back. Madam, we are investigating. Nobody has judged her. Good. Then do not detain her on a complaint that contradicts itself. The officer Allo's mouth tightened. The lawyer, allow us to do our work. I am allowing you. I am also doing mine. Niyi returned from Sade Adebayo's workshop at 10:18 with the sealed envelope, photographs, and a copy of the attendance sheet. He had changed into his wedding shirt in the workshop toilet, but his suit remained folded in the car. BC saw him and looked close to tears. Sir, please go, she said. Your wedding. We will go together. No, leave me. Niyi placed the documents on Ronke Allo's file case. If a person can be abandoned because another event is important, then what is the meaning of all those promises we make in public? But Sade will be waiting. I know. He knew too well. At 10:24, he called her. The call rang once, then failed. He tried again. The network dropped. At 10:29, he sent a message. Still at station. I love you. I am coming. The message showed one grey tick. At 10:37, his phone battery fell to 3%. He plugged it into the car charger, but the port had stopped working 2 weeks earlier. He had promised himself he would repair it after the wedding. By 10:42, the phone went black. At the hall, guests began arriving from 10:15. The venue had once been a community meeting center, but Sade and Nini had chosen it because the windows were high. The courtyard was wide, and the owner allowed independent caterers. Ivory fabric softened the old walls. Green leaves covered the metal frame behind the couple Elo's chairs. Small cards on each table explained that the centerpieces had been made from fabric, offcuts by trainees, rather than imported plastic flowers. It was simple. It was thoughtful. Kemi hated it. She stood near the entrance greeting people, as though she had paid for everything. When someone praised the decorations, she said, "We managed." When another guest asked about the bride, she lowered her voice and said, "There are issues, but let us pray." Those 3 words traveled faster than any official announcement. There are issues. By 10:50, people had invented 6 versions of the issues. Nii had changed his mind. Nii Alo's family rejected Sade. Nii had another woman. Nii discovered debt. Nii had been arrested. Nii had traveled out of Nigeria secretly. Titi moved through the hall, collecting reactions without saying she was recording. "Do you think the groom will come?" she asked one guest. "God forbid! He must come. But if he does not..." The woman covered her mouth and laughed nervously. Titi uploaded the clip. At 11:03, Sade arrived. She had wanted to wait until Nii called, but the officiant was present. Guests were seated, and the driver insisted the road would become worse if they delayed. So she entered the hall beside 2 women from her family, carrying a bouquet of white roses and eucalyptus. The dress moved exactly as she had planned. It did not glitter, it did not shout. The satin caught light softly. The old lace sat against her brown skin, like a whisper from another generation. For one brief second, the room became still. Then Kemi laughed, not quietly. She looked Sade from head to toe and placed a hand on her chest. So you truly wore it?" Sade stopped beneath the entrance arch. Some guests looked away. Others stared openly. Titi Alo's phone rose. Kemi approached with the confidence of somebody entering her own showroom. "Is this your wedding dress or the lining from a cheap curtain?" The question struck the hall. A few people laughed because Kemi laughed. Some laughed because they were uncomfortable. One man coughed into his fist. A woman near the aisle whispered, "This is not good." But nobody stopped it. Kemi pinched the sleeve between 2 fingers. "Leave it." "Boss," Sade said. Kemi ignored her. "How much did you spend?" "That is not your business." "Tell them. Since you are proud of local production, educate us." Sade tried to step past her. Titi blocked the aisle with the phone. "Kemi," Sade said, dropping the family title move. The hall reacted to that. A bride calling an older relative by name on her wedding day was not a small thing. Kemi Alo's eyes flashed. "You are ashamed to say the price." "No, then say it." Sade looked at the guests. She saw people she had sewn for. People who had borrowed money from her mother. People who had eaten in her home. People who now watched as if humiliation was part of the program. 63,850 naira in materials, she said. Kemi's clapped once. Did everybody hear? 63,850. Even my shop mannequin wears something more expensive than this. Laughter broke again. Titi moved closer to capture Sade Adebayo's face. Kemi continued. No beadwork, no proper structure, old lace. Discount satin. My sister, this is wedding, not practical examination for sewing apprentice. Sade Adebayo's fingers tightened around the bouquet. The person who made this dress pays her workers, she said. Kemi Adebayo's smile disappeared for half a second. Then she recovered. Of workers? Which workers? Those girls managing in your hot room. One of them is at a police station. Because somebody made a false report. The words cut through the hall. Titi Adebayo's hand jerked. Kemi blinked. What are you talking about? You know what I am talking about. Are you accusing me on your wedding day? I am asking why BC was invited to a station over lace that never entered your store. Whispers rose. Kemi placed both hands on her waist. So that thief is the reason your husband has run away. Sade went still. He has not run away. Where is he? He is coming. What time? Sade said nothing. Kemi turned to the hall, you see. Pride has consequences. She rejected help. She rejected family. She chose a dress that looks like unpaid labor, and now the man has remembered his future. He is coming, Sade repeated. Somebody check the time. 11:08. The Groom Adebayo's chair remained empty. Kemi leaned close enough for only Sade and the nearest phones to hear clearly. Can you blame him? Which serious man wants to marry a woman dressed like unpaid labor? Sade Adebayo's throat closed. The lace on her sleeve blurred. She remembered her mother sitting under a yellow bulb late at night, guiding fabric beneath an old machine. She remembered being 9 years old, sorting buttons by color. She remembered her mother saying that the hand that makes a garment deserves as much honor as the body that wears it. Now, in a hall filled with family, that labor had become an insult. Titi whispered, Mummy, the live is already above 9,000. Kemi Adebayo's expression brightened. Sade heard. You are live? Titi did not answer. Are you streaming my wedding without permission? It is a public event. It is not public. It is invited. People are concerned. No. People are entertained. Sade reached for the phone. Titi stepped back. Don Adebayo, touch me, I said. Turn it off. Kemi moved between them. Leave her phone. You want to add assault to abandonment. That was when Sade understood the trap. Anything she did would become another clip. If she shouted, she was unstable. If she cried, she was pathetic. If she reached for the phone, she was violent. If she remained silent, Kemi would speak over her until silence looked like guilt. So Sade did the one thing Kemi did not expect. She walked away. She crossed the hall slowly, past the empty Groom Adebayo's chair, past the officiant waiting near the front, past the wedding cake. She and Niyi had reduced from 4 tiers to 2 because no sensible household needed to throw away cake for appearance. She entered the small side room used for changing and closed the door. The noise outside rose immediately. Inside, Sade placed the bouquet on a plastic chair. Her hands began to shake. She held them together. It did not help. At 11:16, she tried Niyi Adebayo's phone. Switched off again. Switched off again. The same recorded voice. A knock came. Sad? An auntie called. Open. Let us talk. I need 5 minutes. People are waiting. I know, Kemi said. She has another dress in the car. Maybe wear it so at least. No. My daughter. Do not be stubborn now. Sade looked at herself in the narrow mirror. Please leave me. The auntie sighed and went away. At the station, time moved differently. The production manager from Maison Kemi had arrived with an additional written statement. He claimed BC had contacted him 2 days earlier, offering to return the lace in exchange for money. No phone record supported the claim. Ronka asked for the alleged message. He deleted it, the manager said. Convenient, Ronka replied. The officer warned her not to insult the complainant. I did not insult him, Ronke said. I described the evidence. Bissy sat with both hands between her knees. Fear had made her quiet. Each time a door opened, she flinched. Nii checked the wall clock. 11:21. He had no working phone. The station charger did not match his device. He borrowed Ronke Ilo's phone to call Sade, but the network failed twice. On the third attempt, the call connected and rang without answer, because Sade Alo's phone lay face down in the changing room while 3 relatives argued outside her door. Go, Ronke told him. Nii looked at Bisi. Ronke repeated, Go to your wedding. I will remain. Will they release her? I am pushing for it. That is not an answer. It is the only honest answer. The officer had indicated that because of the alleged value of the lace and the accusation of evidence tampering, Bisi might be held until the complainant produced more records. Nii lowered his voice. If I leave and they put her in a cell, Ronke looked directly at him. Then I will challenge it. How long? I cannot promise. Bisi stood suddenly. Sir, go. Sit down, please. Sade will hate me. She will not. She will. Maybe not today. But later she will remember that her husband was late because of me. Nii Alo's face tightened. Do not decide what my wife will feel. Bisi stared at him. He continued. And do not carry blame that belongs to the person who forged this complaint. The station door opened. 2 men entered carrying a sealed envelope from Ibe Mobility Group Alo's legal unit and a portable tablet. They were not police. They were compliance staff, sent after Nii had called his regional superior before his phone died. One of them greeted the officer and placed documents on the desk. Ibe Mobility Group has a vendor relationship with the supplier named on this invoice. Ah, he said. We have obtained confirmation that the purchase order was cancelled on July 11. No goods were dispatched under this stock code. The officer sat forward. The production manager Alo's face changed. Ronke took the confirmation letter, checked the details, and placed it beside the complaint. So the item my client allegedly stole was never delivered, she said. The officer turned to the manager. Is this true? The man began to sweat. I only reported what the records showed. Who prepared the records? I do not know. You signed the complaint. I was instructed. By who? He said nothing. Ronke Al's voice remained controlled. My client should be released immediately, and the false document issue should be recorded. The officer looked through the new papers. The room became quiet except for the wall fan and the sound of a printer in another office. At 11:34, Bisi was told she could leave after signing, that she had received no property from Maison Kemi and would remain available for further investigation. Ronke read the statement before Bisi signed. Nii released a breath he had been holding for nearly 3 hours. Then one of the compliance men said, Mr. Ibe is outside. Nii stared at him. Which Mr. Ibe? The man looked surprised. The chairman. Yusuf Ibe had been traveling from a vocational center inspection on the other side of Abeokuta when his legal unit informed him that a grant applicant might have used falsified supply documents to support a theft allegation. Because the same supplier appeared in a separate internal audit, he instructed his team to verify the records. When he learned Nii was at the station on his wedding morning, he changed route. Yusuf entered wearing a dark blue native outfit, not a business suit. He was broad-shouldered, silver at the temples, and calm in the way only people accustomed to being obeyed could afford to be calm. He looked first at Bisi. Are you the person named in the complaint? Yes, sir. Were you harmed? No, sir. I was only questioned. Ronke answered more carefully. She was threatened with detention on the strength of documents now shown to be unreliable. We will be requesting formal records. Yusuf nodded. You should. Then he looked at Nii Alo's half-finished wedding clothing. What time is your ceremony? Niyi checked the clock. 11. It was 11:38. Yusuf Alo's eyebrows rose. And you are here? Yes, sir. Why? Ni glanced at Bisi. Because she should not face this alone. Yusuf held his gaze. Does your bride know? She knows some of it. My phone died. Do you have transport? My car is outside. You will not reach quickly in that traffic. I will manage. Yusuf turned to the compliance man. How many vehicles are with us? Sir, including security. Good. We are going to a wedding. Ni Alo's mouth opened. Sir, you don't a lot have to. I had already intended to attend if timing permitted. Timing has now become rude, but we will still go. Ronki picked up her file. I am coming. The complainant is at the venue, correct? Bisi nodded. Yusuf looked at Bisi. Can you travel? Yes, sir. Then let us leave before your friend marries an empty chair out of anger. For the first time that morning, Bisi almost smiled. At the hall, Sade opened the side room door at 11:41. Her makeup had survived, but her eyes had changed. The softness was gone. She had removed her shoes and carried them in one hand. The hall fell quiet when she entered. Kemi stood near the front, wearing an expression of false concern. My daughter, she said loudly. We have been discussing there is no shame if we postpone. Better small shame today than a lifetime with a man who does not value you. Sade walked past her. She approached the event coordinator, an unnamed woman holding a clipboard. Stop the music. Sade said. The music stopped. Tell the caterers to keep the food warm. Pay the serving team now from the envelope in my bag. Nobody should lose wages because this ceremony is delayed. The coordinator blinked. And the wedding? I don't know. A murmur passed through the room. Kemi moved closer. At last, sense has entered your head. Sade turned. Do not speak to me. Kemi recoiled theatrically. After all I have done? What have you done? I tried to prevent this embarrassment. You created most of it. Titi raised her phone again. Sade faced her. Turn off the live stream. No. It was the first completely honest answer Titi had given all day. Sade nodded once. Fine. She walked to the front, stood beneath the arch, and faced the guests. Everybody came to witness a wedding, she said. Her voice shook at first, then steadied. You have instead witnessed a woman Alo's dress being priced, her work being mocked, and her private fear being streamed for strangers. Some of you laughed. Some of you kept quiet. Both things taught me something. Kemi scoffed. Do not turn this into a speech. Sade ignored her. My groom is late. I do not know why his phone is off. I will not invent an excuse for him. I will not insult him before hearing from him either. But I also will not stand here so people can use my pain as entertainment. She placed her shoes beside the empty chair. If Ni does not come, I will go home with my dignity. That is enough. The silence after those words was heavy. Then Kemi laughed softly. Dignity? She said. My sister, dignity does not pay for hall. Dignity does not change the fact that your man left you wearing 63,000 naira experiment. Sade looked at her. Money did not teach you dignity either. A glass slipped from somebody Ilo's hand near the catering table and shattered. Titi Ilo's eyes widened. Kemi took one step forward. What did you say? You heard me. After I carried you on my head when your mother died. You attended the burial and posted pictures. The room reacted again. Kemi Alo's nostrils flared. Ungrateful girl. You did not raise me. You gave me work and called it favor. You used my designs and called it exposure. You offered me a dress so you could own my wedding pictures. Now you have accused Busy of theft because she kept records. You are mad. No. You have allowed small education to spoil your brain. No. You think because your name entered one foundation email, you are now my equal? Sade Ilo's answer came quietly. I was your equal before the email. That sentence hit harder than shouting. Kemi opened her mouth. Before she could speak, engines sounded beyond the gate. At first, nobody moved. Abeokuta streets were full of engines. But this sound was different. Deep, coordinated, multiple vehicles slowing together. A security man ran past the entrance. People near the windows stood. One black SUV turned into the compound, then another, then 6 more. The convoy moved with disciplined spacing, tires rolling over the rough courtyard. The first vehicle stopped near the entrance. A security officer stepped out and scanned the area. Doors opened in sequence. The laughter that had filled the hall less than an hour earlier disappeared so completely that the hum of the air conditioner became loud. Titi turned her camera towards the windows. "Who is that?" someone whispered. Kemi stepped forward, adjusting her jeel. Her expression changed from anger to calculation. Perhaps a politician had come to the wrong hall. Perhaps a wealthy guest had arrived. Perhaps this was an opportunity. The middle SUV door opened. Nee stepped out. He had put on his suit jacket in the vehicle, but one side of his collar sat slightly wrong. His face carried exhaustion and urgency. Beside him, Bissi emerged, holding Ronke Alo's file case with both hands. Kemi stopped breathing. Bissi was supposed to be inside a police cell. Then Ronke stepped out. Then Yusuf Ibe. Titi recognized him first. Her grip loosened. The phone slipped from her hand, struck the tiled entrance, and bounced once. The live stream continued from the floor, showing shoes, fabric hems, and the lower edge of the doorway. Kemi whispered. No Niyi entered the hall. He saw Sade beneath the arch, barefoot, with her shoes beside the empty chair. He saw the strain in her face. He saw Kemi near the front. He did not look at Yusuf. He did not greet the guests. He walked directly to Sade. "I am sorry," he said. Sade stared at him. "You promised it." "I know. Your phone was off. It died. You left me here. I know how it felt." "No, you don't, Alet." The hall was silent enough to hear them breathe. Niyi did not defend himself quickly. He did not say, "Look who I brought." He did not point at the convoy, as if wealth could erase pain. He lowered his head. "You are right," he said. "I do not know exactly how it felt. I know only what happened." Bisi was accused with forged documents. They were preparing to hold her. I thought I could solve it and return before 10:30. I was wrong. Sade Alo's eyes filled. "You should have found a way to tell me." "Yes. You should have sent somebody." "Yes. You should not make promises you cannot keep." "Yes." The simplicity of his answers broke something inside her anger. "Not all of it. Enough," he continued. "I could not stand here and promise to protect dignity while leaving an innocent person alone because our ceremony was more convenient. But I also failed you by not making sure you had the truth. I am sorry for both things." Sade looked past him at Bisi. Bisi Alo's eyes were swollen, but she was free. "Were you detained?" Sade asked. "No, Ma." Ronka stopped it. The documents were false. Sade closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, she looked at Nii again. "Do not ever disappear on me like this again. I will not. You cannot solve everything alone." "I know." She breathed in, then out. "You are still late. I am very late." A tiny laugh moved through the room, cautious and relieved. Nee bent, picked up Sadalo's shoes, and placed them neatly before her. "May I still marry you?" Sade looked at the shoes, then at him. "You may help me wear them first." The room exhaled. He knelt. That was when Kemi found her voice. "My daughter!" she cried. Suddenly sweet. "Thank God, we were all so worried. I told everybody there must be an explanation." Nobody answered her. Yusuf entered the hall behind Ronke. Kemi straightened so quickly that the beads at her neck shifted. "Chief Ibe," she said, moving forward with both hands extended. "What an honor! What a surprise! I am Kemi Johnson, founder of Maison Kemi. We applied to your vocational trust. Yusuf looked at her hands but did not take them. I know the name, he said. Her smile flickered. Of course. We are one of the leading bridal houses in the region. Sade here is my younger relative. I trained her personally. Sade watched the transformation with disbelief. Less than 10 minutes earlier, Kemi had called her an ungrateful girl wearing an experiment. Now she spoke as though Sade Alo's skill was part of the Maison Kemi portfolio. Kemi continued. This whole matter has been a terrible misunderstanding. We are family. You know how family issues can be. Ronka stepped beside Yusuf. Fora is not a family issue. Kemi Alo's smile disappeared. And false accusation is not misunderstanding. Ronki added. Titi picked up her cracked phone. The screen still showed comments racing upward. People had heard everything. Kemi snapped. Turn it off. Titi obeyed at once. For the first time that day, the camera went dark. For several seconds, nobody knew what to do with the new balance of power in the room. People who had laughed began adjusting their faces. Those who had whispered about Niyi running away now spoke loudly about how they had always known he was a responsible man. One guest moved from the back towards the front, as if physical closeness to Yusuf could become a photograph later. Another woman who had described Sade Alo's dress as too ordinary now touched the skirt and said the workmanship was actually very refined. Sade noticed all of it. That hurt in a different way. The dress had not changed. Her work had not changed. Her character had not changed. Only 8 expensive vehicles had entered the gate. Yusuf seemed to notice, too. He turned to the guests. Please. I am not the groom. A few people laughed nervously. He did not. This wedding has already been delayed because of a serious allegation. The bride and groom should decide whether they want to continue. My presence should not turn their private ceremony into another kind of performance. The officiant, who had been waiting with remarkable patience, stepped forward. Sade, Niyi, are you both willing to proceed? Sade looked at Niyi. He did not reach for her hand until she nodded. Yes, she said. Yes, Niyi answered. Kemi tried to move into the front row. Sade saw her. Auntie Kemi. Kemi stopped. You will sit at the back. The hall gasped softly. Kemi Alo's mouth fell open. What? This ceremony is continuing. You may remain if you can remain quiet, but you will not sit near us, you will not speak for my mother, and Titi will not record. Kemi looked around for support. None came quickly. The same guests who had tolerated her cruelty were now frightened of being associated with her in front of Yusuf eBay. Their silence, once used against Sade, turned against Kemi. She felt it. After everything I have done for this family, she said. Sade Alo's voice stayed level. Please sit down. Kemi walked to the back with her chin lifted, each step carrying rage. Titi followed, holding the cracked phone against her chest. The ceremony began at 12:03 p.m., 63 minutes after the scheduled time. It was not the grand beginning Sade had imagined. The air conditioner had begun dripping near one wall. Some food had lost its first freshness. Her feet hurt. Niyi Alo's collar was still crooked. Bisi stood near the side aisle with station dust on the hem of her dress. Yet, when the officiant asked Niyi why he had chosen Sade, he did not mention beauty first. She makes room for people, he said. Not only in her shop, in her mind. She sees workers others do not greet. She sees value before packaging. She tells me the truth even when I am not ready to hear it. Today I hurt her because I failed to communicate, and she still listened before judging me. I'd not deserve that care by default. I will work to deserve it. Sade Alo's lower lip trembled. When it was her turn, she looked at him for a long time. Ni is not a man without mistakes, she said. Today has proved it. A low ripple of laughter moved through the hall. But he does not hide from correction. He does not choose comfort when another person, Alo's life, is being crushed. He knows that integrity is what you do when no applause is waiting. I will not ask him to become perfect. I will ask him to remain honest, even when honesty embarrasses both of us. Nii nodded, eyes wet. They exchanged vows without drama. No surprise check arrived. No mansion key appeared. No public announcement declared Nii a secret heir. They became husband and wife the ordinary way, by speaking promises, signing documents, and accepting that the promises would have to be practiced long after the guests went home. When the officiant pronounced them married, the applause was loud. Sade heard joy inside it. She also heard relief. Some people were relieved because the wedding had not become a scandal. Others were relieved because a billionaire Alo's presence had allowed them to reverse their behavior without admitting what they had done. She would remember that distinction. After the final prayer, guests moved towards the reception tables. The event coordinator restarted the music at low volume. Servers carried trays of rice, stew, chicken, and moi moi. The workers had already received their wages, just as Sade instructed. One of them quietly thanked her near the service door. "You paid us before your own ceremony finished," the woman said. "You worked before my ceremony started," Sade replied. The woman smiled and returned to the tables. Yusuf was offered the largest decorated chair near the couple Alo's table. He refused it. "I am a guest," he said. "Put me where guests sit." He chose a place in the second row beside Ronke and Bisi. Security remained outside. The convoy stayed visible through the windows, attracting people from the street, who had begun gathering near the gate. Kemi watched everything from the back table. Her untouched plate sat before her. Titi leaned close. "Mummy, we should go." "No. People are looking. Let them look." "The live recorded everything. I told you to turn it off. You told me after he entered." Kemi turned sharply. "Do not blame me. I am not blaming you. I am saying the comments are bad. Delete the video. I already deleted it." "From the archive?" "Yes." "Cloud?" Titi hesitated. Kemi Alo's voice became thin. "Cloud? I will check. You had better." Across the hall, Nii changed into a second shirt because the first had absorbed sweat at the station. Sade went to the changing room to repair a loose hook at the back of her dress. Bisi followed with the emergency sewing kit. Inside, Sade sat before the mirror while Bisi worked. "I am sorry," Bisi said. Sade met her eyes in the reflection. "For what? For today. Did you forge the document? No. Did you steal lace? No. Then stop apologizing for another person, Alo's wickedness." Bisi lowered her head. "But Sir Nii was late because of me. He was late because somebody tried to use the police as a weapon. That is not your shame." Bisi secured the hook. "You were angry with him. I am still angry with him." Small. Bisi almost laughed. Sade turned on the chair. "Doing the right thing does not cancel the harm caused by doing it badly. He should have sent a message through somebody. He knows that. We will discuss it after today. You will not fight? We may fight." Bisi looked worried. Sade smiled faintly. "Marriage is not the absence of disagreement. It is the refusal to use disagreement as a weapon. We will talk." The door opened slightly and Ronke knocked on the frame. "May I enter?" "Yes." Ronke stepped inside with the black file case. "None. There is a complication," she said. Sade Alo's smile disappeared. "What now?" "The false complaint may be connected to more than Bisi Alo's labor claim. The cancelled stock code appears in Maison Kemi Alo's grant documentation as an example of imported material capacity." Sade frowned. "Explain." "They listed a supplier relationship and inventory that may not exist. That is for the foundation and relevant authorities to review. More immediately, the production manager, has indicated he was instructed to prepare the complaint. By Kemi, he has not made a formal statement naming her yet. But he will. I do not know. BC folded her arms tightly. He will lie, maybe, Ronki said. That is why documents matter. She opened the file and removed several printed pages. These are records you gave me. Sade recognized her old sketches. Ronk laid out 3 drawings: a fitted mermaid gown with folded shoulder panels, a column dress with a detachable overskirt, and a bridal jumpsuit with hand-beaded cuffs. Each page carried Sade Alo's initials and dates from years earlier. Maison Kemi Alo's public catalogue shows substantially similar designs introduced later. Ronka said, that alone is not always enough. Fashion designs can overlap. But your messages show the production team discussing your drawings, and BC Alo's records show trainees manufacturing later versions. Sade stared at the pages. She had kept them because throwing them away felt like throwing away evidence that she had once imagined something. She had not believed anybody important would care. What do you want to do? Ronki asked. Sade looked towards the hall. I do not want my reception to become a courtroom. Neither do I. Then why bring this now? Because Kemi is telling guests outside that BC manipulated the chairman Alo's staff and that you used your husband to sabotage her grant. The story is changing already. Sade stood. Of course. Social media likes noise, Ronka reminded her. Law likes sequence. We do not need to disclose everything here, but we may need to correct factual lies before they harden. BC looked towards the door. She will not stop. Sade studied the 3 sketches. No, she said. She will not. In the hall, Kemi had gathered 5 relatives around her. I did not accuse anybody, personally, she said. My staff found a missing stock item. What was I supposed to do? Keep quiet because the suspect is connected to Sade. But they said the item never arrived, one relative replied. That is what the Billionaire Alo's people are saying. Do you know how powerful companies behave? They can produce paper for anything. Titi touched her mother Alo's arm. Mummy. Kemi shook her off. And now Sade Alo's husband has brought his chairman here to intimidate us. Is that normal? A family matter has become convoy and security. Yusuf heard from his seat. He did not respond. Ronka did. She stepped into the circle. Madam Kemi, let us be careful. Kemi turned. Are you threatening me? No. I'm advising you not to create a second false narrative while the first one is still being documented. I have freedom of speech. You do. You also have responsibility for harmful false statements. Kemi laughed. You people use grammar to frighten poor citizens. Ronke Alo's expression did not change. You are not presenting yourself as a poor citizen today. A few guests coughed to hide laughter. Kemi Alo's face hardened. Sade returned from the changing room carrying the sketches. The music lowered again without anyone requesting it. People sensed another confrontation and shifted closer. Sade stopped before Kemi. Auntie, you are telling people Niyi brought Chief eBay to threaten you. That is what happened. No. Niyi went to help BC. Chief Elo's team verified a supplier record linked to his company, Elo's own compliance system. He was already traveling in Ogun State. Kemi crossed her arms. That is their story. Yusuf stood. The room settled immediately. It is not a story, he said. It is a sequence that can be checked. Kemi Alo's voice softened. Chief, I meant no disrespect. I am not offended, I am concerned. He walked towards them without hurry. Your company submitted a complaint alleging theft of material valued at 1,740,000 naira. The supplier has confirmed that the purchase order was cancelled on July 11. The material was not dispatched. Your document states it entered your store at 8:14 this morning. That cannot be both error and truth. Kemi glanced at Titi. The manager handles stock, she said. Then the manager will answer for his role, Ronke replied, and anybody who instructed him will answer for theirs. Kemi pointed at Bisi. She still had access to our information. Maybe she created the confusion herself. Bisi stepped back as though struck. Sade moved in front of her. Enough, Kemi scoffed. You see how she is hiding behind you? No, Sade said. I see how you keep searching for a smaller person to carry your wrongdoing. I did anything. Sade raised the sketches. Kemi Alo's eyes changed, only slightly. Ronka saw it. These are 3 original design records belonging to Sade, Ronka said. They are dated, backed up and connected to production messages from Maison Kemi. We are preparing a formal claim regarding authorship, unpaid compensation, and labor classification affecting 6 former trainees. The hall broke into whispers. Kemi looked at the drawings, then laughed too loudly. Those? She drew them while working for me. Anything an employee creates belongs to the company, Sade answered. I drew the first one at home before you hired me for that collection. I sent it to you because you said you would help me develop it. Can you hear yourself? I helped you. You removed my initials and sold it. You were paid salary, not for that design. You were an assistant. I was the person who made the pattern. Kemi turned to the crowd. This is what happens when you give ordinary workers too much confidence. They sew one sleeve and begin claiming the whole business. A silence fell. The insult had once worked. It no longer landed the same way. Bisi stepped out from behind Sade. I made the beaded cuffs for your Nessa jumpsuit collection, she said. For 9 days from 7:00 in the morning until after tenure at night. You called me trainee. The collection earned money. I earned transport twice. Kemi stared at her. You ungrateful thief. Ronk raised one hand. Do not repeat the theft allegation without evidence. I will call her what she is. Then we will add each repetition to the record. Titi pulled her mother Alo's arm. Mummy, stop. Kemi rounded on her. You too. Titi lowered her voice. The tablet. What tablet? Titi Alo's face drained. During the live stream, she had used the event coordinator Alo's tablet to monitor comments because her second phone overheated. Her social account remained logged in. When she deleted the live from her phone, a cached copy and message notifications remained visible on the tablet. The coordinator now stood near the sound desk holding it. She approached Ronke. Ma, I think you should see this. Titi moved quickly. That is my account. Give it to me. The coordinator stepped back. It is my tablet. You logged me in. You logged yourself in. Titi reached for it. Ni moved between them, not touching her. Do not take anything. This is my private message, Ronke said. Nobody should open additional messages. Preserve the device and let the proper process determine what is relevant. But one notification was already visible on the locked screen. It showed a message sent by Kemi at 7:58 that morning. Make sure you film her face when they call about busy. Today she must break. Nobody needed to open anything. The words were there. Kemi saw them. The color left her face. Titi whispered, Mummy, I told you not to send things like that. Kemi turned slowly. You left my message on somebody Alo's device? You sent it to me, you careless girl. The argument cracked open in front of everybody. You told me to go live, Titi said, voice rising. You told me to ask people whether Niyi had run away. You said if the wedding became shameful, the foundation would not touch Sade. Kemi slapped the table with her palm. Keep quiet. I deleted the live because you told me. Shut your mouth, but people already screen recorded it. What do you want me to do? Kemi Alo's chair fell backwards as she stood too fast. The sound echoed. For one frozen moment, mother and daughter stared at each other. All the careful packaging around them had torn. The guests saw not elegance, not family concern, not luxury, but fear fighting fear. Yusuf spoke into the silence. This is why institutions do not approve grants based on photographs and influence, he said. A foundation is not rewarding appearance. It is entrusting resources intended for other people. That trust requires records, contracts, and accountability. Kemi turned towards him desperately. Chief, please. You are hearing emotional accusations at a wedding. My company has employed many people for years. Employment is not proof of fair employment. We train young women. Then contracts should show what training they receive, what work they produce, and how they are compensated. We are a private business, and the grant you applied for is not your private money. Kemi Alo's mouth closed. Yusuf continued. Maison Kemi Alo's application was already suspended pending clarification. Today, Alo's events will be referred to independent compliance review. I will not decide your legal liability in a wedding hall. I will not decide the design claim. I will not order an arrest. Those matters belong to proper processes. Kemi released a breath, perhaps believing this was mercy. Then Yusuf added, but there will be a process. Influence will not remove it. Kemi looked around. The guests had drawn away from her. Even those who had laughed loudest no longer wanted to stand close. She turned on Sade. So, this is what you wanted? To disgrace me in public? Sade stared at her. I wanted to get married. I wanted to wear a dress I made. I wanted Bissy to stand beside me. I wanted my family to eat, dance, and go home. You brought the police into it. You brought the live stream. You brought the disgrace. You think you have won because a billionaire came with cars? Sade looked through the windows at the convoy. Then she faced the room. The cars outside did not make my dress better, she said. They did not make Bissy innocent. Evidence made the complaint collapse. Records protected her. A lawyer did her work. People told the truth. Her voice strengthened. And Chief Ebe standing here does not make me more human than I was at 11:00 o'clock, when many of you laughed. I deserved respect before the first vehicle entered that gate. Bissy deserved fairness before anybody checked the supplier record. A cleaner deserves dignity when no chairman knows her name. A tailor deserves credit when no camera is watching. The hall became very quiet. Sade looked at Kemi. If the only reason you respect somebody is that a rich person has arrived behind them, then you do not understand respect. You understand fear. Nobody laughed now. Kemi Alo's lips trembled. Anger held her upright, but something else had entered her face. Recognition, not yet remorse. Recognition that the room she had controlled no longer believed her performance. A guest in the front began clapping. Then another. The applause spread. Sade lifted her hand. It stopped. Do not clap for me and turn her humiliation into another show, she said. That is the same sickness wearing different clothes. People lowered their hands. Kemi looked almost more shocked by that than by the evidence. Sade continued. I do not want anybody forcing her to kneel. I do not want videos of people insulting her. I want the workers paid. I want the designs credited. I want the false report corrected. I want the law to do what noise cannot do. Ronke nodded once. That was the moment the reception changed. Not when the convoy entered. Not when Yusuf stood. When Sade refused to build her justice from the same cruelty used against her. The event coordinator quietly righted Kemi Alo's fallen chair. Kemi did not sit. She turned and walked towards the exit. Ronka spoke before she reached the door. Madam Kemi, you are free to leave. You will receive formal communication. Please do not contact BZ directly, and do not delete company records relevant to the complaint. Kemi stopped without turning. You cannot order me. No. I am informing you what preservation will be requested. Titi followed her mother. At the doorway, she looked back at Sade. For the first time, there was no camera between them. Her face held fear, shame and resentment in equal measure. Then she left. The convoy remained outside. The wedding continued inside. For the next 20 minutes, people ate with the careful manners of those who had been forced to meet themselves in public. The jollof rice was still warm. The chicken was slightly drier than planned. Nobody complained. Guests who had been restless earlier now thanked the servers, perhaps because Sade Adebayo's words were still sitting in the room with them. Whether the change would last beyond one afternoon was another question. Niyi sat beside Sade at the couple Alo's table. "You have not eaten," he said. "You too. I ate one meat pie at the station." She turned slowly. "On our wedding day, your breakfast was station meat pie. It was not even fresh." Sade shook her head. "See the husband I married." He smiled, then became serious. "Are you all right?" "No." The honesty surprised him. She continued. "I am happy we are married. I am relieved Bisi is free. I am angry with Kemi. I am angry with people who laughed. I am still angry with you. I am tired. My feet are paining me, and I have not eaten." Niyi nodded. "That is a complete report. Do not joke. I am not." He served rice onto her plate himself. "I should have borrowed a phone sooner," he said. "I should have sent one of the compliance staff ahead. I focused on solving the case and forgot that information was also part of the emergency." "Yes, I am sorry. You have said it. I will say it again when necessary." She looked at him. "Do not use apology as decoration. Change the behavior." "I will." "Good." They ate. Across the hall, Yusuf spoke with Bisi and Ronke. He asked Bisi what she had learned during her months at Maison Kemi. She described the real work: fitting, finishing, bead placement, pattern tracing, and last-minute corrections. She also described what she had not learned: pricing, contracts, wage calculation, tax records, and design ownership. "So you were productive enough to deliver customer garments," Yusuf said, "but not recognized enough to be called a worker." Bisi nodded. "That arrangement is common," Ronke said. "The word trainee can become a curtain. Employers place paid work behind it." Yusuf folded his hands. "What would a fair training structure look like?" Ronke answered without hesitation. "Written duration, clear learning outcomes, named supervisor, working hours, stipend or wages depending on productive contribution, safety rules, complaints mechanism, ownership terms for original work," Bisi added, "and no carrying Madame Alo's personal market bag for 6 months before touching machine." Yusuf smiled. That too. Sade heard part of the conversation and joined them after eating. "Chief, I hope this will not affect my application unfairly," she said. Yusuf looked at her. Which direction would be unfair? Approving it because of today, or rejecting it because I am connected to trouble? That is a sensible concern. My program should stand on its documents. It will. He spoke plainly. Your proposal has passed technical review. That does not mean money will be released tomorrow. The trust will require an independent board member, quarterly reporting, participant contracts, procurement controls, and a complaints channel not controlled by you. Sade listened carefully. If you cannot accept those conditions, he continued, do not accept the grant. I can accept them. Read them first. I will, good. Too many people say yes to money before reading the duty attached to it. Ni came beside her. Yusuf looked at both of them. And you. Keep your employment roles separate. You will not review her invoices. You will not speak to the foundation on her behalf. You will declare the relationship formally. Yes, sir, Ni said. Sade nodded. That is what we want. Yusuf glanced at the dress. Your relative called this cheap. Many people did. What did it cost? 63,850 Nira in materials. My labor is not inside that figure. Yusuf Allah's eyebrows lifted. Exactly. Sade smiled for the first time without effort. A material bill is not a product value, Yusuf said. People forget labor because they cannot display it on a label. That is one of the things I want to teach. Then teach it with records. Sentiment can open ears. Numbers protect people after the emotion is gone. The band announced the couple Ilo's first dance. Shortly after 2 p. Niyi held out his hand. Sade looked at it. Can you dance? No. At least you are honest. They stepped into the center of the hall. A photographer moved to one side, positioning the frame so the open doors and black SUVs appeared behind them. Sade noticed. Please change angle, she said. The photographer lowered the camera. Ma? Do not put the convoy in the main pictures. But it will look powerful. It is not our wedding decoration. The photographer hesitated. Ni nodded towards a plain wall, softened with greenery. Use that side. They danced there instead. No billionaire Alo's vehicle appeared in the photograph that later hung in their home. Only Sade, Niyi, the simple arch, and the dress people had called a curtain lining. Bissy stood near the edge of the floor, smiling through tired eyes. Ronke allowed herself 1 plate of food and half a bottle of malt before returning to her files. Yusuf left before the cake was cut because he had another engagement in Lagos. He greeted the servers, thanked the officiant, and departed without making a speech about generosity. When the convoy rolled out of the compound, the dust settled behind it. The room did not become less important. That mattered. By 5:40 p.m., the last formal photographs were finished. At 6:15, Sade sat in the changing room while Bisi unfastened the 23 hand-covered buttons. Neither woman spoke until the dress loosened. Then Bisi touched the old lace once more. Ma, she said. Today people saw it. Saw what? That the dress was not cheap. Sade shook her head. Ma, some people saw only the convoy. Bisi frowned. Do not misunderstand me, Sade continued. I am grateful Chief came. His people helped verify the supplier record. But if he did not come, the lace would still have meaning. Your innocence would still be true. My work would still have value. Bisi folded the dress carefully. How do we make people understand that? By repeating it until it enters their head. Outside, music continued. Guests danced as if the day had not almost broken apart. Inside the small room, Sade placed the dress into its garment bag. She did not know that the next battle would be quieter than the wedding and more exhausting. There would be no band, no convoy, only forms, statements, meetings, and dates. 3 days after the wedding, Ronke sent formal letters to Maison Kemi on behalf of Bisi and 5 former trainees. The letters requested wage records, apprenticeship agreements, job cards, design files, and preservation of electronic communications. A separate notice addressed the false theft complaint and demanded correction of statements made to police and online. Maison Kemi Alo's first response denied everything. The company claimed the women were voluntary trainees who received valuable instruction. It stated that all designs produced on the premises belonged to the brand. It described the police report as a good faith mistake caused by an inventory system error. Ronke replied with dates. She attached work schedules showing productive labor. She attached customer delivery messages. She attached bank records showing that clients paid for garments completed by the trainees. She attached the cancelled supplier confirmation. She attached screenshots of Kemi Alo's message to Titi and archived portions of the livestream. The tone of the second response changed. Maison Kemi requested a private meeting. Ronke agreed, but only if every claimant had representation and the discussion was documented. Meanwhile, The police opened a review of the false complaint. The production manager initially insisted he had acted alone. 2 weeks later, after his own messages were recovered, he amended his statement. He admitted that Kemi had instructed him to recreate the stock entry using the cancelled lace code. He said she wanted BC occupied during the wedding and intended to portray Second Stitch as connected to theft. Kemi was invited for questioning. She was not dragged from her house in handcuffs before cameras. There was no dramatic midnight arrest. She attended with counsel, gave a statement, and denied ordering forgery. The matter moved through the slow machinery of investigation. Some viewers online complained that she had not been punished fast enough. Real accountability rarely moves at the speed of comments. It moves through documents, procedure, and people refusing to become tired before the truth is recorded. Titi faced a different consequence. Within 9 days, 3 brands paused their campaigns with her. One cosmetics company requested a written explanation. A wedding venue removed her from an upcoming promotional event. Her follower count did not disappear, but the comments under her posts changed. People shared clips of her laughing at Sade Adebayo's dress and asked why humiliation had become content. Her first apology video lasted 92 seconds. She wore plain makeup and a white blouse. She said she regretted that some viewers misunderstood the intention of the live stream. She said emotions had been high. She said family disagreements should remain private. Ronke watched it once and sent a one-line response. This does not correct the false statements or accept responsibility. Sade did not watch the full video. She is apologizing to her audience, she told Niyi, not to the people she harmed. Niyi was washing plates in their rented apartment. Wedding gifts still occupied one corner of the sitting room. They had received 4 blenders, 3 wall clocks, 2 electric kettles, and 1 decorative bowl neither of them understood. What would a real apology look like? He asked. Specific. Meaning. She should say she streamed without consent. She should say she helped spread a false theft story. She should correct the claim that you ran away. She should acknowledge that she mocked my work because of its price. Then she should ask Bissy what repair is possible. Niyi placed a wet plate in the rack. Would you forgive her? Sade thought before answering. Forgiveness is not a remote control somebody presses after saying sorry. I may stop carrying anger before I trust her. Those are different things. Niyi nodded. Fair. And you? She asked. What? You still keep your phone on 6% battery. He looked guilty. The argument that followed was not dramatic enough for a wedding hall, but it was real enough for marriage. Sade accused him of treating preventable problems like fate. Niyi defended himself, then realized he had no defense. The next morning, he replaced the faulty car charger, bought a power bank, and wrote emergency contacts on a card in his wallet. It was a small change. Trust is often repaired in small changes. The Second Stitch initiative entered final review in November. The trust sent auditors to Sade Adebayo's workshop. They checked rent receipts, machine ownership, payment records, and attendance logs. They interviewed BC without Sade present. They asked why the proposed class had 37 participants rather than 40. Because the room can safely hold 37 workstations with clear exits, Sade answered. 40 looks better in a brochure. 37 works better in the building. They inspected the proposed training center. They required fire extinguishers, improved ventilation, and a lockable records cabinet. They rejected one supplier quotation because the company had no verifiable address. They reduced the decoration budget and increased the legal education budget. Sade accepted the corrections. On November 26, The trust approved the program subject to quarterly audit and milestone release. The money would not enter Sade Adebayo's personal account. It would move through a controlled project account with dual authorization. When the email arrived, Sade did not scream. She read every attachment first. Then she called Niyi. "Approved?" he asked, conditionally. "That is still approved. It is approved when we meet conditions. My wife, allow Joy to enter small." She laughed. "Joy has entered. It is sitting beside compliance." The formal dispute with Maison Kemi lasted nearly 3 months. By January, the evidence was too substantial for a simple denial. The parties entered structured mediation. Kemi arrived at the first meeting wearing a black suit and an expression of offense. Titi sat beside her without a phone on the table. The 6 former trainees sat opposite them, with Ronke. Sade attended only the sessions involving her design claims. The mediator asked what each side wanted. Kemi Alo's lawyer spoke first. He wanted confidentiality, withdrawal of public accusations, and protection of the brand Alo's commercial reputation. Ronke answered, "Commercial reputation cannot be protected by hiding unpaid labor." The mediator asked the claimants. Bissy wanted unpaid compensation, correction of the theft allegation, and recognition of her work on the beaded cuff collection. Another former trainee wanted her employment dates recorded correctly for future references. Another wanted payment for weekend work. Another wanted a written policy preventing trainees from being used as unpaid production staff. Sade wanted attribution and compensation for the 3 designs supported by her records. "What about public apology?" the mediator asked. Sade looked at Kemi. "I want public correction," she said. "Apology is only useful if it is true." Kemi Alo's eyes flashed, but she remained quiet. The settlement took 4 sessions. Maison Kemi agreed to pay outstanding compensation calculated from documented productive work, not from every hour claimed. It agreed to pay design royalties and a separate settlement to Sade for the 3 disputed designs. It agreed to credit named contributors in archived catalogue material where evidence supported authorship. It agreed to issue a public statement confirming that Bissy did not steal lace and that the stock record used in the complaint was inaccurate. The company also agreed to adopt written trainee contracts, defined learning outcomes, maximum working hours, safety rules, and a complaints channel administered by an outside consultant for 18 months. A portion of the settlement funded legal literacy workshops for garment workers in Abeokuta. Kemi did not lose her house overnight. Maison Kemi did not vanish. The showrooms remained open, though one expansion plan was cancelled and several partnerships ended. The brand had to survive without pretending that every achievement belonged to one woman. That was a harder punishment than public shouting. Kemi had to share credit. She had to produce records. She had to pay people she once called lucky to be present. She had to repair the system that had made her powerful. Titi Alo's second apology was different. She did not film it with soft music. She did not say if anyone was hurt. She named the actions. She admitted streaming Sade without consent, mocking a handmade dress, repeating an unverified abandonment story, and helping spread false allegations against Bissy. She corrected the facts and stated that the value of labor was not determined by luxury branding. Before posting it, she met Bissy in Ronke Alo's office. The meeting lasted 40 minutes. At first, Titi spoke too much. She explained pressure from her mother, fear of losing the family business, and the way social media rewarded dramatic content. Bissy listened. Then she said, "You are explaining why you did it. You have not asked what it did to me." Titi stopped. Bissy described sitting beneath the station fan, while somebody prepared to place her in a cell over lace that never existed. She described wondering whether every future employer would find the word thief attached to her name. She described watching Titi Ilo's followers laugh while she could not defend herself. Titi cried. BC did not comfort her. That too was part of accountability. When Titi finally posted the correction, some people accepted it. Some did not. She lost more partnerships before slowly rebuilding her work around consent-based content and transparent sponsorships. Whether she had changed from conviction or necessity remained uncertain. Change often begins under pressure before it becomes character. On February 2nd, Second Stitch opened its doors. 37 adult participants entered a renovated training room with 7 industrial machines, 12 domestic machines, cutting tables, pressing stations, and labeled storage shelves. Each participant received a written agreement. The document stated hours, stipend, learning modules, attendance requirements, ownership rules, and the process for complaints. Ronki taught the first legal literacy session. She held up a blank sheet of paper. Many people fear contracts because they think paper belongs to rich people. She said. Paper belongs to whoever reads before signing. She taught them to identify vague payment language. She explained the difference between a volunteer, trainee, contractor, and employee. She showed them how to save messages, photograph sketches with dates, and confirm verbal agreements in writing. Sade taught costing. She wrote 3 figures on the board: materials, labor, overhead. If you count only cloth and thread, she said, you are donating your time without naming the donation. One participant asked. But customers will say the price is too much. Some will. Then, what do we do? Explain the cost, improve efficiency. Know your market. But do not call yourself greedy because your hand deserves payment. BC became a paid assistant instructor. Her first lesson covered hand finishing. She demonstrated how to secure lace without distorting the edge. On the wall behind her hung a framed copy of the settlement corrections, stating that she had not stolen any material from Maison Camille. She did not frame it from bitterness. She framed it because false accusations thrive when correction is hidden. The wedding dress hung in a clear garment cover near Sade Adebayo's office. Participants often asked why she displayed such a simple gown when the program produced more elaborate work. One afternoon, a trainee stood before it and said, "Ma, is this the famous cheap dress?" Sade looked up from a payment register. The trainee laughed. "But this is the one from the video. This is the dress they called cheap. What is the difference?" Sade closed the register and walked over. The word cheap was used to reduce the person who made it. The material cost was modest. That is a fact. But the pattern was original. The construction was careful. The labor had value. And part of the lace came from my mother. A low material cost does not make a person low. The trainee touched the garment cover, not the dress. Why keep it here? So everybody who enters remembers that price and value are not twins. Outside, a black SUV bearing the EB Foundation logo arrived with a delivery of pressing equipment. Several trainees rushed to the window. "The Billionaire Ilo's people have come," one said. Sade did not turn. She was correcting a payment figure in the register. "Check the delivery note before you carry anything inside," she said. The room laughed, but BC understood. Records first. Months later, Kemi came to the training center. She did not arrive with photographers. She did not wear mourning colors or carry a dramatic check. She came for a scheduled compliance workshop required under the settlement. 2 supervisors from Maison Kemi came with her. When she saw the wedding dress, she stopped. For a moment, the old expression returned. The instinct to judge, to compare, to protect herself by reducing whatever stood before her. Then it passed. I was cruel that day, she said. Sade remained behind her desk. Yes. Kemi looked at the lace. I knew it belonged to your mother. Yes. I used it because I knew it would pain you. Yes. The word hung between them. Kemi swallowed. I am sorry. Sade studied her face. I hear you, she said. Kemi seemed to wait for more. There was no embrace, no instant restoration, no music rising behind forgiveness. Sade had learned that peace did not require pretending damage had never happened. She could release the desire to destroy Kemi and still require distance. She could accept an apology without returning the same access. Kemi nodded slowly. Before leaving, she attended Ronke Allo's full workshop on trainee classification and wage records. She asked 2 defensive questions and 1 honest one. It was not transformation. It was a beginning. Sade and Nii remained in their rented apartment for another year. They used part of the wedding money left over to buy 2 industrial machines for Sade Adebayo's private workshop. They placed 500,000 into an emergency account. They bought health insurance. Nii repaired the Corolla instead of replacing it. When relatives asked why a man connected to Yusuf eBay still drove an old car, he answered, "Connection is not ownership." Some laughed. He drove it anyway. Their marriage did not become perfect because their wedding ended well. They disagreed over work hours, family boundaries, and whether 4 blenders should remain in one house. Sade sometimes carried workshop stress home. Nii sometimes tried to solve problems before listening. They learned to ask a simple question during arguments. Do you want help, or do you want me to hear you? It prevented many unnecessary speeches. On their first anniversary, Nii asked Sade to wear the wedding dress again for a private photograph. She refused. My waist has changed, she said. Small. Do you want to sleep outside? No, ma. Instead, they visited Second Stitch and took a photograph beneath the training center sign. BC stood beside them, holding the first annual report. 32 of the 37 participants had completed the full program. 21 were earning income from sewing. 9 had formed a cooperative. 3 had taken salaried work with proper contracts. 2 had returned after health-related absences. 5 had withdrawn for personal reasons, and the report recorded that honestly. No inflated success story. No claim that every life changed overnight. Just measurable progress. The convoy from the wedding was absent from the photograph. Nobody missed it. From where I stand, the most dangerous poverty in any society is not an empty pocket. It is the poverty of a mind that cannot recognize human worth until money introduces it. A convoy can silence a room, but it should never be the reason a person finally receives respect. Say deserved dignity before the first black vehicle entered that gate. Bissy deserved fairness before a billionaire, Alo's staff, checked the supplier record. The servers deserved wages before the guests praised the food. The trainees deserved credit before a lawyer placed their names inside a file. The lesson is not that we should treat a poorly dressed person well because she may know somebody powerful. That is only fear wearing the clothes of kindness. The lesson is simpler and harder. Respect people when nobody important is watching. Pay them when their labor benefits you. Credit the hands that create what you sell. Keep records when truth may need protection. And never mistake the price tag on a person Alo's clothing for the value of the person standing inside it.